Hello, my name is Stephanie Moran. Thank you for joining me today in my presentation, How to Function as a Team, Strategy for Successful Board Relationships. It's first important to make sure everyone understands the definition of team. Team differs from other types of organizations in that members are focused on a joint goal or product. They might work on a project, a presentation, planning an event, writing a report, or even creating a new design or prototype. Many definitions are offered, and most include and designate the fact that people are working together in team. There's a common goal, there's outcomes, and there's accountability. One of the most common definitions of team was written by Bach and Smith in the book Wisdom of Teams. They give a definition of team as a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed to a common purpose, performance goals, and a working approach for which they hold themselves accountable. Within the realm of board teams and their function, it's important to realize that boards are most effective when they realize that they are parts of teams. As a single board member, you don't have any authority. It takes an entire board to make a decision. Although boards vary in how and when they conduct business, boards are all made up of more than at least two people. It's a team. Although board members often have different roles on the board, they must all have some element of influence because it takes a board to make action. In most circumstances, it takes a majority vote. Over the years, there have been several different theories that have evolved regarding team development. Three of the most common are Bruce Tuckman's forming, storming, norming, performing. And later, 10 years later, after he first identified his theory, he also added a fifth stage of adjourning. Hersey and Blanchard's situational leadership model is often embraced in terms of team development. And finally, Tannenbaum and Schmidt's continuum of development is used by many different organizations. In all three of these models, teams go from a very leader-directed way of operating to a very autonomous way of operating. In the very beginning, there's not much dialogue, cooperation, or collaboration that exists. There's no relationships that have developed outside of boards, and there often can be conflict and backbiting that arises. In all models, as teams move through the development, they become more mature in their action. The leader within that team isn't relied on nearly as heavily, and in most cases, the board is very self-directed. They become creative, and they even can enjoy spending time together outside of a boardroom. You might ask yourself, is my board dysfunctional? What would be the symptoms of dysfunction? Well, in many cases, it's suggested that boring team meetings are a sign of dysfunction. There's very little engagement, and members aren't motivated to attend. Members never challenge each other in discussion. They don't share vision, mission, or very many obstacles within business. Challenges are viewed as obstacles and not opportunities. Board members are seen carrying on backhanded conversations in hallways and over the phone versus handling conflicts that arise during board meetings. I've often been involved in boards where there may be an elephant in the room, or in this case, a moose on the table. And yet everyone's aware that there's something needing to be confronted, but they refuse to do so. They avoid conflict at all costs. There's very little risk-taking, and there's very little positive action or success being experienced. In 2002, Patrick Lencioni wrote the book, The 5 Dysfunctions of Team. It's become one of today's most definitive sources of practical team building and guidance for effective team leadership. It's embraced by many types of organizations, from multinational corporations to small businesses, professional sports to education, churches, nonprofits, and more. and promotes the idea that developing a cohesive leadership team is a critical component to building a healthy and strong organization. In his book, it suggested that teams work best when they have transparency, open conversation, and collaboration. It suggests that teams fail when there's an absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and inattention to results. The diagram on the screen demonstrates that the very fundamental piece of a functioning board is the fact that board members need to trust one another. As you move up the pyramid, you go from trusting to embracing conflict, being committed, holding each other accountable, and celebrating results if you want to be a successful and functioning board. Indeed, many boards do not function in that framework. There's many characteristics that you can see within your own board and its members if indeed you're struggling with dysfunction. Lencioni suggests in his book that members with an absence of trust often conceal their weaknesses and mistakes from one another. They hesitate to offer each other advice or help in areas of responsibility. They often jump to conclusions about the intentions of others, and they fail to recognize and tap into the skills and experience of others. They hold grudges, and often they dread meetings and find reasons to avoid spending time together or attending the meetings. If your boards fear conflict, and most of your board meetings are going to be boring, it also happens that an environment is created where back-channeling politics and personal attacks thrive. Many controversial topics that are critical to team success are ignored. Your members fail to tap into all the opinions of perspective of team members, and they waste time and energy with posturing and interpersonal risk management. If your board is struggling with failing to commit, they are creating ambiguity among your team. They watch windows of opportunities close due to excessive analysis and unnecessary delay. There's a lack of confidence and fear of failure, and your team revisits discussions and decisions over and over again. If you lack accountability, your team will be able to become more and more resentful, and it will grow among team members. There's an encouragement of mediocrity, and oftentimes deadlines are missed, as well as key deliverables. There's an undue burden placed on the team leader as the sole source of discipline. If your team is struggling finally with results, and they're not focused at all on results, they become stagnant and fail to grow. They rarely defeat their competitors, and they lose a lot of team-oriented and achieving individuals on their board. They encourage team members to focus on their own careers and individuals. And it's easy to be distracted when you're not focusing on the results of your team, but merely the results of your individuals. Deborah Macon, another team development specialist, would suggest there's a few other things to keep in mind when you're thinking about developing a highly functional team. She suggests that boards need to have a structure that is team-based, that boards should not overestimate the task and underestimate the process of achieving the task, nor the relationships that must exist in the process. She would suggest that boards must create a culture of collaboration and cooperation, that boards should not neglect the talent pool that resides within the team, and that they need to make sure that there's sufficient training prior to launching the team's work. If you happen to be a leader on a board or working within a team, there's a few things that you can do to help increase the functionality of your team. It's important for leaders to model what they want the other members to do. It's important for them to encourage others to be transparent about weaknesses and failures, to build faith in others' intentions, and to encourage risk-taking. It's important for leaders to watch out for the early signs of conflict, to demonstrate that conflict helps discover solutions and it doesn't need to be avoided. Leaders can effectively manage the behavior of members to prevent backbiting or behaviors that hurt the team. And they shouldn't allow for politics or personal attacks at any level. Leaders can also force clarity and closure. They can set clear goals and priorities, emphasize dependability, and support management and administrative decisions. When it comes to accountability, leaders can confront the difficult situation. They can create a unified team by creating common standards of performance and encouraging excellence. They can focus on collective outcomes for results. They can encourage goal setting and targets that are good for the team. They can recognize those who support team efforts and celebrate team accomplishments. Dale Carnegie once said, "A teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishment toward organizational objectives. It is the fuel that allows common people to attain uncommon results." As your team becomes healthy and healthier and your board becomes much more functional, you'll realize that your team members often are willing to admit their weaknesses and mistakes. They'll ask for help and give others the benefit of the doubt. They're able to take risks and offer feedback and assistance to others on your team. They focus on issues and not politics. They offer and accept apologies without hesitation. They're able to have lively, interesting meetings and put critical topics on the table for discussion. They solve problems quickly without a lot of politics or drama and align the entire team around common objectives. They learn from mistakes and change direction if needed, but they always keep moving forward. They'll provide positive pressure on underperforming team members to improve and won't rely solely upon the leader to administer discipline. They identify potential problems quickly by positively approaching other members and establish mutual respect and expectation for the same high standards. They help retain achievement-oriented team members and employees and minimize individualistic behavior. Healthy teams enjoy the benefit of others who subjugate their own goals and interests for the good of the team, and many distractions are avoided. I hope this outline and framework can help you in the future build a stronger and healthier board. This should make your board meetings much more excited and your time together much more functional. Within your organization, you should be able to see progress and experience success. Thank you.